So hello and welcome to DrShiny Tarot. This is a reading for Taurus for the month of November. I'm going to be doing monthly readings again. I did them quite some time ago, but it's been quite a while since I've done them. So I'm excited to get back to it. And if you haven't already done so, please check out my introduction video on how I approach tarot reading and what you can expect to get out of it, and that type of general information. And again, this is for Taurus, so let's go ahead and get started. Okay, now you may be used to having 4 cards here, but we're going to do the 4th card over here so I have more room. Get them to where you can see a little bit better. Okay, so for your current situation, you have the Knight of Cups in the reverse. So Knight of Cups is somebody who is kind of they're very good at managing their emotional state, but they haven't really tempered it, so there can be a little bit of like a, we'll say like a passionate feeling to them. They're probably one of the most romantic characters, and some of that romance inherently has with it a little bit of, passion is a good way to put it, but passion can have kind of a good connotation. There can also be a little bit of a bad, like unbalanced nature to it, to where they're just really feeling their emotions, really caught up in them. And I think that in the negative, this kind of tends to go a little bit toward the more negative side of things, to where you're a little bit less practical or grounded, and a little bit more in that like flighty, romancy type of a state, right? And let's see, and we're with Taurus now, so okay. What's crossing you, or what's influencing you, is the Page of Swords in the reverse. So interesting. The Page of Swords is a little bit less matured than the Knight of Cups. He's a little bit earlier on his journey, and he's really thinking more about thoughts. So there's kind of a conflict going on here between someone who is really, an intellectual type, but, maybe not the most brilliant person, right? This is somebody who's still learning, or young, or early on in the journey. And so there's this kind of tug of war between someone who's like more, we need to follow our emotions and just go with it, and somebody who might be a little bit of an overthinker a little bit. So that kind of a tug of war or energy is going on here. And both of these people are a little bit stubborn in their way, and not really open to collaborating with the other. You have quite a few cards in the reverse here, but some very important ones in the upright as well. So yeah, it leads me to believe there's some like resistance going on in the situation. Now, what you're moving away from is this 7 of Wands. So the 7 of Wands is, this guy's trying to kind of defend himself and stand above all the rest. It has this energy of having to defend your place at the top a little bit. And I think that what's going on here is, having left that energy where you're not at the top anymore, or you may still be, but there is a change up occurring where you're having to take on new opinions, or new partnerships, or respecting the newfound authority of someone else, right? But so somebody may be kind of rising up in the ranks, so to speak, around you. It could be a child that's developing and gaining a little bit more independence, and not as willing to listen to you and your way, right? And they're approaching it from more of a thought-centered place, where you're approaching it more from an emotional-centered place. So this can be like I mean, what comes to mind is, a parent is instructing a child, and the child is like, well, why do I have to do that? It doesn't make sense. Like, explain to me why I have to do that. And the parent is, because they told you so, right? And the parent, it's not that the parent doesn't have a mental or well thought out reason for why he wants what he wants, but it really comes down to it's really because I care about you, right? That's what the answer would be, because I don't want you to get hurt. But because they're not so closely associated with the swords, it's kind of like, I don't want to take the time to spell it out for you or something like that, right? I just want you to listen to me. I want you to feel that I know better, right? So what's moving toward you is the Eight of Wands, and you can see here, a lot of people, when they look at this card at first, they're like, what's going on here? It looks like these wands are just like flying in toward the ground and whatnot, and that's kind of what it's made to, what the artwork is designed to get you to feel. It's, what's going on here? Something's happening, right? Something's happening, and you don't really know what, right? But it's kind of a whirlwind, right? There's an event coming that is, or in the process of beginning as well, that it's like, this is going to take you to new places. I have another deck which has a rocket ship for this card, giving the idea that you're going on a journey and you can only really just hold on for dear life. It's a really noticeable violent transition. Maybe not violent, right? Violent has a lot of negative connotation to it, but very abrupt and very we'll say kind of jarring. So the foundation of the situation, what's going on in your subconscious, is the Two of Wands. And Two of Wands represents sort of preparing to go on a journey, right? You have a lot of wands here and a lot of wand associated cards, and all three of the cards that are up, well, you have 4 upright cards and 3 of them are wands. One of them is in your advice column. So regarding what's going on, there is a lot of action. There is a lot of I'd say change, but it could also just be like people making big moves, right? So the Two of Wands at the foundation of this, it's kind of planning your next move, right? So there is maybe something going on, and because it's in the subconscious, you're not necessarily aware of this, but what the whole premise of the situation is to get you to consider, where are you and where are you going, right? Is it perhaps time for this Page of Swords that's affecting you? Is it time for him to maybe assume your role so that you can move on to another role, right? Is it time for you to plan on what's your next step? Have you become kind of stagnant, that kind of thing? And those are questions that you might ask yourself. But with the two, the energy is you're being prepared, or you're preparing yourself, we'll put it that way. You're preparing yourself to make new plans for the future, to embark on a new journey, or to just kind of enter into a new chapter in your life, right? So what's on your crowning thoughts, or what's in your conscious mind, what you've been paying attention to? You have the Emperor, and this is a new deck, so I'm still getting used to the artwork here, but the Emperor is in the in the reverse position, and the Emperor tends to indicate a sort of masculine, definitely masculinity comes to mind, but in the realm of authority, right? So this is a projection of authority, and there's not as much in the way of emotions, other than the Emperor also kind of reigns over emotions, right? So he reigns over emotions within himself, and this is really, in the upright position, it's a positive. It's being able to organize and to move from a place where in the Empress, there's, you know, a nurturing and a feminine energy, which brings together new life and whatnot. In the Emperor, it's kind of putting boundaries on things and order and you know, that type of deal. And then in the reverse, it's indicating that maybe some of this authority is kind of weighing down on you, or somebody doesn't deserve authority. Somebody's been given authority that they don't deserve, or you feel that they don't deserve anyway. It's not necessarily true, but you're definitely feeling that way, right? And it's possible that, you know, you didn't give them that authority, somebody else did. And so the whole idea of authority at this point is kind of a thorn in your side a little bit. Now, what we have for your advice card is the Ace of Swords. And Ace of Swords is a new idea, a new thought, something that wells up from within you, which is to say, hey, you know, maybe I'm approaching this situation a little bit wrong. Maybe there's another way to think about it, right? And that other way to think about it is the start of a new journey for you, a new path for you to take in your life, right? So I think in the advice position, this is really telling you to focus on, how can I look at this a little bit differently to where it doesn't cause this sort of frustration and friction, and where does this, what door does this open or propel me to, right? And you know, even if things don't work out exactly the way that you would like, I think that coalescing with the energies that are going on here and becoming a little bit more harmonious with those around you is almost guaranteed to make the situation work a little bit better in your favor, right? So definitely focus on, how does this present a new opportunity, right? So, you know, Bob Ross, I bring it up a lot. He says there's no mistakes, just happy accidents, right? So tap into that type of an energy where it's not that something is wrong, it's that, or not the way that it should be. It's, this is the shakeup that allows me to move on to a new path or a new opportunity, you know. So your environment, you have the Eight of Cups in the reverse, and the Eight of Cups is this is sort of a painful withdrawal. This is somebody who is, and being in your environment, this typically doesn't really it's not really talking about you, it's talking about somebody around you, or, you know, the kind of energy that's surrounding you. It, you know, it's a minor arcana card, so it's not like this is a huge aspect of your environment or your climate, but somebody around you is kind of feeling like they're withdrawing. They're not really dealing with their emotions. They're leaving it all behind and kind of suppressing. And it could be that this is what's leading to so much friction between you and someone else. So I think that this is an indication to be a little bit more patient with people, because you don't really know what they're going through, and they aren't really focusing something that they should be focusing on, right? So it's it behooves you to sort of to be the adult, right? And that doesn't mean to just barrel over others, but it means to have the maturity to face a situation with a sense of diplomacy, right? Of making the situation de-escalation rather than escalation, right? That's what you're looking for. A lot of people think of the concept of authority as saying, like, no, I can dominate these people. I can make them do what I want them to do. But that's not the true heart of authority. The true heart of authority is that they listen to me because they trust me, because they know that I am you know, a better resource to listen to than others when you feel lost or when you don't know what to do. So kind of tap into that true meaning of authority, and don't get sidetracked by the I'm your boss, I do what you say type thing, you know. So your fears card is the Hanged Man in the reverse, right? And this is how he normally is. He's hanging there from a rope on his foot, And there's generally actually, this is a curious card, but there's a positive energy with this, because what it kind of means is, at a certain point in your life, you kind of realize that you've been resisting the inevitable. And then when you kind of let go, when you just completely let go and don't really care anymore, it has this sort of this liberation, because you realize that a great deal of your pain and stress is really from just the resisting that inevitable. It's kind of like, you're trying to push a rock that's just too big for you, and you're going to wear yourself out, and you're going to just hurt yourself. Where if you just kind of let go, things are, you're like, well, I didn't need to push that rock in the first place, right? So generally a positive card, but when you're in the reverse here, this is, and especially in your fears position, this is kind of being afraid of running into a dead end where you don't have a choice. You're used to having a little bit more of a little more flexibility in what options are available to you, a little bit more of an ability to choose what's going to happen. And so you're afraid of getting into this situation where it's out of your control, where it's out of your hands, and you're kind of powerless to do anything about the situation. And I always find valid concerns in this place, in this fears card. But remember to focus on the faith aspect of your life, on the knowledge that, everything will turn out okay. And focusing on that faith instead of focusing on how it could go wrong if you can't do anything about it, right? Focus on how everything happens, according to, if not a plan, because people talk about plan in a sort of religious context, and not everybody's religious, and that's okay, but it unfolds according to an order, we'll put it that way, or even the laws of physics, that type of thing. And the world that we live in today is very immaculately put together in such a way that it works out for most people most of the time, if you really focus on what can you do rather than what can't you do, right? So, like I said, valid concerns, but I wouldn't worry about it too much, as long as you can kind of center yourself in your faith, right? And faith, again, not necessarily religious, it's just this feeling that it'll work out. There'll be some path, some saving grace is there to help if you need it, So your overall message or the outcome is the moon in the reverse. And I just had another reading that had the same overall outcome. And the way that I'm taking it is, it's a message that you need to focus on, instead of focusing on what needs to be done here or what should I do, right? It is take a step back and reconnect with your intuition, reconnect with your subconscious. And I know you're well on the way, because you wouldn't be watching a tarot card reading if you weren't on that path. So I think that you're in a good spot here. The answer in this situation is not necessarily to dominate or control the situation, but to kind of let the situation unfold. And the Eight of Wands in your coming towards you indicates something is going to happen regardless, right? Something is going to happen in this situation. And so it's really just a matter of take a step back and let events unfold the way that they do, and be ready for an opportunity to present itself as the result of these changes. Okay, so I thought that was a great reading. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. If you have any confusion or would like a little bit of clarification, and just in general, what do you think about it? So thank you for watching, and please come back next month and we'll have a new fresh reading for you for December. Okay, thank you.